I just click these ones if I want to. Cool. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me this evening. My name is Nicola Twine. I work with NESCAN Hub, North East Scotland Climate Action Network. We've been on the go for about 3 years now. And my job with NESCAN is I'm the project manager for our Just Transition Communities project. So I've been asked here to chat with you today about a just transition and whose transition is it anyway? So this has been really quite interesting for us to get our teeth into. We've been looking at the role of communities in it, a regional vision, and even from just what we've heard from Elliot and Daria this morning. Right. Yeah, the notion of a just transition potentially in Scotland over the last few years, I think has maybe come a little bit late. I think we all would have liked to have started talking about it and planning for it earlier. And maybe it might appear to some that it's now a very well used term in terms of policy, strategy, politics, research, all the rest of it, but has come in as an importantly used term to perhaps maybe appease some of the energy companies that are worried about their shares and their prices and their workers and, you know, the industry and all the rest of it. But we really, really want to look at who else is affected by a transition. And when Elliot was speaking, he was speaking about the partnership between environmental groups and workers. That's great. That's people in our communities, and then business and industries. But what about actual communities and places? Because it is our geography, our landscape, our places, our heritage, our buildings, all of our assets, the environment, our environmental assets, how are they going to be used in the future? So, I mean, absolutely, the people who live on the land, stay on the land, inhabit the land need to be part of this. And not least of all, because, you know, we all make up communities and we all have some good, worthy ideas, I think. So it's worthwhile for the community voice to be there. It's not everyone in the region is not involved in the oil and gas industry, you know. So how do we involve the voices that are not involved working there also? Oh, I didn't know it was going to do that, but it's there we go. I think that's it. Right. So I can just speak from my experience of working with communities in the northeast of Scotland, which has been primarily through our Just Transition Communities project. So we started this about 2 years ago, just when I first started working for NESCAN. It is quite a novel project. It's a collaborative partnership project, and it focuses on participatory democracy, a just transition for Northeast communities, and also through a lens of locally based community climate action. It's quite an ambitious project. NESCAN, as I said, is a new organisation, quite in our infancy, so it was really important that we get other partners in to help and support us with this emerging practice and learning. So we've always called it a learning project because we're learning, communities are learning, we're co-creating together, and that's quite important also when we try and look at and track the outcomes of the project. You know, we know some of the things that we do want to be working towards for communities to have more of an influence and a say, to be able to talk with power, to talk to power, to be able to influence policy and decision making. But before that, you know, becomes community I suppose, motivation, communities being interested and re-engaged with their local environment, nature, all the rest of it, and believing that they have got something to contribute and indeed are often the best place to come up with solutions. So it's the only community-focused project funded by the Just Transition Fund. And although we were asked to bid for it as a multi-year project, we've had to kind of go begging every year. We've been learning our monitoring and evaluation sort of system and how we're learning from it. And Daria and the university have been helping with that as well. But we've been trying really hard to be accountable, transparent, and all the rest of it. And it's interesting because I don't see a lot of public stuff about the outcomes and outputs for the other Just Transition funded projects, which are generally sort of been awarded to kind of corporate capture. So it's the same people benefiting. So we're trying to look at this as a positive vision forward, a just transition, trying to focus people on what we're moving towards rather than just purely what we're moving away from. And if we start thinking about what we're moving towards, how can we get that right for future generations and for the land that we live on? If we don't start revisioning, reimagining the culture and development and some alternative or diversified economic prospects of the region, without this, we're kind of just leaving it to the existing business and energy sector to come up with those solutions. And I just think that there's so many other solutions. And we know from having worked with and engaged in communities that they are keen to be involved. So this is our vision there, is that the project is aiming to build belief and strengthen community voice and action. And we're doing that through the sharing of expertise, power and creative solutions towards achieving a fairer, greener future for all. And when we speak about sharing expertise, it's very much about elevating community expertise from the lived experience from the people who are there and what they know is needed for their communities, their people, their kids, the environment, buildings, all the rest of it. So that's the expertise we're speaking about. I won't touch on this for long, but I just wanted to sort of maybe outline a little bit of what our processes and deliverables are and what has been achieved so far in 2 years of the project. So linking back to one of Daria's themes for indicators, if you remember, she spoke about democratic participation being as a measurable form potentially of whether a transition is just or not. So that's kind of what we've focused on, is deliberative democratic processes to support active citizenship, empowerment and democratic innovation. People are maybe not always confident about their vote at the ballot box. So we're really trying to kind of support and work with people about what are other ways that actually your contribution can make a difference. So we've been starting off with that on a small local scale, but you will see that so far over 2 years, we've held meetings and processes with like over 70 kind of settlements and groups around deliberative participatory processes, looking at the themes of a just transition and the needs of places and people in the years moving forward, supporting those groups that are coming together to find consensus and the most, commonality of like the strongest priorities of what's needed for those areas. We've so far engaged with over 2,000 adult community participants, and that's across 3 local authority areas, so Aberdeen City, Aberdeenshire and Moray Council. We've been geographically in over 50 different physical places and settlements. The project has engaged with over 3,000 young people. Now, I have to say this impressive number, 3,000 young people, is down to the fact that we are a collaborative partnership. We've been co-creating with our other kind of 6 key delivery partners, and one of those has been the Montgomery Development and Education Centre, Aberdeen for a Fairer World. So they very, very, very successfully engage with children and young people through schools around the kind of global sustainable development goals, United Rights of the Child, all those sorts of things, but importantly, getting them involved in place-based planning as well. So having a walk around their place and identifying what they already love, what is important, and what they would like to see improved and rejuvenated and regenerated. So that's been really impressive. And on Thursday night, we're really pleased that we've got the Aberdeen Youth Movement coming to meet with the Just Transition Commission as well. So we haven't so far engaged with many young people kind of like beyond the school age, but we're really pleased that they're going to be there. So we're looking to build in and invite more people, more communities, more groups and organisations to this Just Transition Community Project. I need to start wrapping up. So far, out of this project over 2 years, there's been 36 community projects developed, which there's been a lot of support given to them in terms of achieving funding, setting up project planning resources. A great benefit of NESCAN being involved in this is, of course, it's a member-led network. So we've got lots of information and relationships with different climate action activities across the region. So we've been pairing different groups and different communities up with each other to learn from each other and support those projects developing on the ground. And then 22 around about locally based community plans around specific just transition themes developed that we've been trying to work hard with the local authorities around their local outcome improvement plans and place-based plans that are kind of being developed just now to make sure that these themes are feeding into it. So that's sort of what the project has been doing and up to. So within that, what do we see as the roles for community members in a just transition? More so or different or beneficial to the roles of the other partners who get a say in deciding what the regional plan will be if it ever comes to materialise? What can communities contribute to this? So everyone has something to offer, which I think is a really important thing to take note of in terms of inspiring some motivation and involvement. We need to be inclusive, recognise and value everyone, that we can mobilise people, groups and organisations to come together and develop strengths in local areas and local solutions. And we're looking at the assets of people and places. So in a sort of more appreciative inquiry, asset-based kind of type approach, communities are in a really good position to be looking at the possibilities of shared ownership, what's there, what's in abundance, looking at developing community capacity, because more and more is being put on our communities, but what is the help and support there to actually develop their capacity to respond to these demands there? So we've got a real opportunity through this project to look at how we support and develop that capacity, so that the sort of the strengths and the skills and the emerging needs for future jobs and careers and the way that we're working and operating, we're sort of seeing these and trying to meet them head on as we're working with communities around project planning and development. And that works, you can kind of see that there. It's a bit fuzzy, but the more traditional sort of deficit-based planning models, you know, don't necessarily encourage and work with the opportunities that are there so much. So we really feel that that is an important contribution of communities with planning a just transition. I just wanted to give you a wee example of some of the things that have been coming out of the communities where we've been working. So we've been running community assemblies and climate assemblies. We've been running other deliberative processes in the form of some community games, such as Go Deep and Global Eco Village Network cards, which are really there to sort of encourage communication, the identifying of needs. They're frameworks for conversations that are safe and inclusive, because if we can't engage people in a safe and inclusive environment, then it's not very representative and we're not really getting the community voices there. So we're trying to work hard at our mechanisms. And this is a good example of some stuff that came out from a series of St. Macher assemblies last year. So one of the areas that we looked at was Seaton and Linksfield. We've since been back to some community members and community groups this year to kind of refine these things. And you'll see these are directly from the Seaton Linksfield community themselves, that they're saying that the most important issue for them locally where they're living is how the nature and outdoor spaces are managed and developed. Also quite high up on that is community and amenities. So again, that's sort of like the capacity of the community and the assets that are there, and actions and plans already happening. So that's the local democracy and how they can be part of it. these things are quite common across the places, but what you'll see is interesting is the actual tangible solutions. You know, people do have the good ideas of what will work there in terms of moving forward. So, right, I'm coming to an end. This is my last slide. So, this is, if you would like to be involved, maybe you already are, maybe you're involved in local projects, community decision making, and all the rest of it. But if not, then look up our project, or start chatting with people in your own community, see if there are things that you would like to be doing. As we're moving forward with the Just Transition Communities project, our aim is to be linking up the different communities that we've engaged with, the different places and settlements, the key needs that are coming out from them, and seeing if we can gather together a collective regional voice of community needs so that we can make the case for communities being an equal part of that partnership at the table, which is designing a regional just transition, because we can't be left behind, and it needs to talk to the places and what we've got there and make sure that we're providing for the future. People know when we've been engaging with them, they know that we've gone in the last 100 or so years, global out like that. And they know that the solutions are to bring it back in to kind of more have regenerative food systems, better public transport, to have things manufactured and produced more locally. So they know all of this stuff. So I think they're really an important part of the solution. So everyone is part of a community somewhere. So use what you've got. Use any ideas. You might be good at inclusion, you might be good at PR, campaigning, social media, you might be good at project management, you know, whatever it is, there's room for everyone to get involved. And get in touch. We've got some good stuff up on the webpage for the Just Transition Communities project. There's a good wee cartoon that helps explain it in a colourful way. I don't think it's too patronising, but it just kind of helps strip it back, and I think gives us a wee bit of hope for us being involved in hopefully an actual plan and vision that will happen. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicola.